Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into something truly chilling. We're dissecting the anatomy of a haunting, specifically the Chakva phenomenon. Grab a seat because this one gets pretty wild.
Now, I want you to imagine something for a second. You're on a familiar highway, just cruising along at a steady speed, but your destination literally never arrives. Seriously, what would you do if the road you were driving on just never ended? Well, today we're unpacking a real-world case study from the Kishidi Ghat mountain pass that completely breaks our everyday understanding of space and time.
Okay, let's lay out the timeline for this midnight ride to Konkan. Our inciting incident kicks off in the last week of May, right when the very first heavy monsoon rains have hit. We've got two friends, Akash and Pankaj, and they make this super impulsive decision to hop on a bullet motorcycle and ride from Pune to the Konkan coast. They depart at 11 a.m. By 1 a.m., they're freezing and decide to stop at a desolate little tea stall. And then, at exactly 2:30 a.m., they cross the threshold into the absolute darkest patch of the Kishidi Ghat.
Right off the bat, we've got this incredible psychological contrast between our two riders. On one hand, you have Akash. He's driving, he's totally thrilled by the wet earth, and honestly, he's way overconfident in his Bullet's headlights, very impulsive. But then you have his passenger, Pankaj. Pankaj is absolutely terrified, he's freezing cold, and he's doing that thing we all do when we're nervous, just staring anxiously into the pitch-black dark. So Akash's bravado is essentially blinding him to the very real dangers that Pankaj is already picking up on. But that whole dynamic shifts dramatically during their 1 a.m. pit stop. They run into this deeply wrinkled old man running a tiny tea stall. And when the boys casually mention their route to Konkan, the old man just freezes. He hands them their tea, but he delivers this incredibly grave warning. He tells them because on that ghat, people often see things that shouldn't be seen. Chakva.
So what exactly is a Chakva? Well, if we look at the local folklore, it's not just your standard ghost. It's actually more like a supernatural labyrinth, or a ghostly illusion that's specifically triggered by the first fog of the monsoon season. Its whole purpose? To trap travelers in this continuous, endless loop until either their fuel runs out or their minds do. It's a psychological and environmental trap, which is just terrifying. Fast forward to exactly 2:30 a.m. The boys push forward and enter the deep, desolate interior of the Kishidi Ghat. The temperature absolutely plummets, and this unnatural, heavy silence just completely blankets the road. No other cars, no wildlife, just the sound of their motorcycle engine trying to cut through this dense, isolating fog. The bone-chilling cold is setting in, and you can tell the psychological toll of the Chakva is already starting to take effect. And here's where the Chakva deploys its first weapon, exhaustion. It's the sleep trap. You'd think the freezing wind would keep him awake, right? But Akash finds his eyelids growing impossibly heavy, totally battling the hypnotic rhythm of the ghat. To fight off this entirely unnatural lethargy, he forces Pankaj to just keep talking to him. And their desperate makeshift shield against this supernatural force, Pankaj complaining about Akash's ex-girlfriend, Ria. I mean, it's such a hilariously mundane thing to use as an anchor to reality, but hey, whatever works. But let's be real. Talking about an ex can only distract you for so long before reality, or the lack of it, comes crashing down. Pankaj suddenly realizes that their conversation has been dragging on way too long. Just look at this temporal anomaly. Crossing the Kishidi Ghat pass should normally take them about 15 to 20 minutes, tops. Yet when Pankaj checks the time, their actual experience, they've been driving for 2 full hours. Their fuel tank, which should have been totally sufficient, is now half empty. And instead of navigating a short, winding mountain pass, they're somehow stuck on an endless, dead straight road.
Let's break down the impossible mechanics of this endless loop, because this is where it gets crazy. Step 1. Pankaj spots a broken banyan tree marked with a very distinct red cloth tied to it. Akash kind of just dismisses it. Step 2. They keep driving straight, holding a constant speed of 80 kilometers per hour for 30 straight minutes. And then, step 3. They pass the exact same broken banyan tree with the exact same red cloth. Hitting the exact same landmark after driving in a straight line at high speed for half an hour? Yeah, that confirms it. They are completely trapped.
And literally, just as the panic starts to set in, just as Akash finally realizes that the old tea seller wasn't making it up, the motorcycle engine violently cuts out. The RPM drops, their speed drops to absolute zero.
and that deafening, heavy silence of the caution got just rushes right back in to surround them.
The sheer suddenness of this engine failure is it's completely terrifying. The headlight completely extinguishes, plunging them into pitch blackness. Akash frantically kicks the kickstart pedal, but it's entirely free and loose, zero compression. The battery is completely dead. There are absolutely no mechanical sounds left, just the echoing silence. In a matter of seconds, this powerful machine is rendered completely useless, and stranded out there in the dark, they start to hear something, a slow rustling coming from the leaves right next to them. Stranded and totally vulnerable, they make the incredibly tough call to abandon the bike. They pull out their phones, using those weak little flashlights, and start walking, just praying they find a passing truck. Which brings us to an absolutely chilling question. What do you do when the paved road simply vanishes?
Because, guys, that is exactly what happens. As they're walking, the solid tarmac beneath their shoes literally vanishes. Instantly, it is replaced by a dense, sharp, thorny jungle. They aren't on a highway anymore. They are standing right in the middle of a hostile thicket with absolutely no road in sight. It's this violent, reality-bending shift that makes zero logical sense.
So terrified, they shine their weak phone lights into the bushes, and they spot the entity. It's an old woman squatting directly on the wet mud. She has this unkempt, incredibly messy white hair, but the details that literally break their sanity? Her eyes. They are glowing, reflecting the phone light just like a cat's eyes would, and she's wearing this impossibly wide, entirely inhuman smile. The sheer, visceral horror of it is just too much. Their nervous systems completely shut down, and both men just faint right there in the thorns.
Then we get the stark contrast of the morning after. As the sun rises and those first rays hit the mountain air, the men finally wake up, and the illusion is just shattered. The thorny jungle, completely gone. They find themselves lying safely on the side of the paved road, literally exactly where they had parked the bike. It's as if the nightmare just evaporated right along with the fog.
But wait, here is the chilling detail that proves this wasn't just some shared bad dream. Akash walks over to the abandoned motorcycle, pushes down on the kickstart, and the engine roars to life on the very first try. The battery is completely fine, the kickstart isn't loose at all. The machine was never actually broken. It was being actively suppressed by the environment itself. How wild is that?
As you can imagine, the psychological aftermath for these two was incredibly severe. Looking at Pankaj, even though they escaped physically intact, he returns home plagued by a severe, completely unexplained fever and becomes traumatized and totally withdrawn. And as for Akash, he loses his reckless bravado entirely. He literally swears off night riding forever. They may have made it out, but it's pretty clear a piece of them was permanently left behind on that cot. Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this is just a really creepy campfire tale. But the source material completely blurs the lines between myth and reality. It claims this is a true documented event on the Kashidi Ghat. It even cites alleged real-world evidence mentioning existing video footage of modern bikers getting caught in these same 2-hour loops. It even references a viral reel that supposedly captures a glimpse of that exact same entity with the inhuman smile hiding in the brush. No way, right? So whether you view the Chakva as an intense psychological manifestation of highway hypnosis or an actual supernatural entity just waiting in the first monsoon fog, it definitely changes how you think about a lonely, late-night drive. Next time you hit an empty road at night, will you trust your headlights or the shadows just beyond them? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious out there. And, maybe just stay off the mountain passes at 2:30 in the morning.